What's going on, YouTube? It's just Neene, just here, checking in for the real talk right here, right now. This video is along the theme of no one told me. Just want to share what I've learned so that it's out there, so that you guys can learn it too. You might already know this stuff, but if you don't, hey, it will be a bonus. So this video is on do not believe the hype. I will tell you now, there could be a TMI, there should be a TMI, too much information warning. So if you don't want to hear it, it's about cycles, ladies' time. Now's the time for you to exit, or just put me on mute and let the video run until the end, whichever one suits your fancy. But basically, there's a really big conversation, rumor, I don't know what you want to call it, around breastfeeding and not having your cycle and therefore not being able to fall pregnant. Do not believe the hype. I breastfed. I'm still breastfeeding now. My little one is 10 months old and I bled. I had an emergency C-section. That's another thing. It doesn't matter how you give birth. I don't know if anybody told me this actually, but it doesn't matter how you give birth, whether it's naturally or not naturally, however you want to call it, you will still bleed, and that bleeding can have any type of pattern that your body feels like. There isn't a strict guideline, there isn't a window, there isn't an amount. They do have a parameter of bleeding as to when you could be in danger, so definitely do look that up, and if you're passing clots or anything like that. But in terms of how long your period, let's call it, could last for, your body just makes it up as it goes along. There isn't actually a Bible for it. So for example, I can't even remember now, it was either 6 or 8 weeks I was still bleeding. Not heavily, thank goodness, but I was still bleeding after giving birth. It then went on a random week on, week off, week on, week off. And I tried to find the answer everywhere. I actually thought something was wrong with me. I told my doctor, so I got sent for a scan to make sure, because everything was running through my mind. I was thinking, oh my gosh, did they leave something inside me from my C-section? What is going on? Because if you're breastfeeding, you're supposed to stop bleeding, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, Google, just, I'm sure you guys already know, just don't do it. Yeah, so I actually had a scan to make sure that they'd left nothing behind. It came back negative. It was just my body trying to deal with all the hormones from breastfeeding, and it was just doing its own thing. Eventually it stopped and it was fine, and my cycle went back to what was normal for me beforehand. But on top of that, I'm still breastfeeding, so I technically shouldn't have gone through any of that. So that's why I thought I'd come on here just to tell you, do not believe the hype, because basically anything can happen. Anything that your body needs to deal with, your body's going to do it. There isn't really a textbook or a manual to let you know what should be right or wrong. As I said, there are the danger sides of things, but apart from that, anything can go. Anything. And when I say I spoke to 2 different doctors, I spoke to midwives, I spoke to health visitors, and nobody had an exact answer until I spoke to a different doctor, and then they sent me for a scan, blah 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 blah. So it's not common, but it's something that could just happen. So just have it in your mind so that you know that it's out there, so if it does happen to you, you're not completely freaked out and think that you're dying or something like that, because that's what I thought. That is what I thought. Yeah, I mean, that's everything. Do not believe the hype, okay guys? If you're ready, just make sure you're taking precautions, because having children back to back, I wouldn't have been able to have coped. So I don't know if I'd wish it on anyone else, unless that's your plan to. But they do say that women that have just given birth are quite fertile anyway, even if you're not breastfeeding or whatever. It's just a window that you should just be careful of. So that's it for today. I will catch you on the next video. I hope this is helpful. I hope me sharing all of this stuff is actually giving you a different side, a different view on what the afterlife is like. Oh yeah, there's another thing. Okay, so with the bleeding, just make sure you have enough pads, etc., because you aren't supposed to use tampons. So just have that in the back of your mind as well. You could be wearing a pad for a very long time. So just picture it. You're there with swollen ankles, you're in a pad down there, a pad in here, you've got a child on here or in your arm with a bottle. There's a lot going on. So just for you to be mentally prepared, just think of life as you know it now, and then imagine going through puberty again. Now your body is in control. You're not in control. It doesn't matter what facials you do on your face or how much exercise you do, for example. Your body is doing what it needs to do because you've just given birth. Like, you've actually just a whole human. So just remember that. Okay, all right, next video.